I can never unread the piece you wrote about trains versus airport
Ah,
security.
oh yes, yes. So I just got back from Europe. So again, you're like, hey, there's like no security here at all. You could kill everybody if you were so inclined. And a few times this happened, right? So I think that in that piece I said there's been like 250 deaths from terrorism on European trains over the last 40 or 50 years. And yeah, 250 people died, but guess what we got in exchange? Convenience for billions of people.
Exactly. Like the piece is about sort of just think, why don't we have like that strict security on trains, but we do have them at
Yeah.
airports. And then you end
Yep.
up with, yeah, kind of a
No, I mean,
recency
well,
bias,
especially
maybe
with the
9/11.
train,
That
like one bomb in a train could kill everyone on that train practically. It's really easy. And there's not even a metal detector to get on these European trains. There's a couple exceptions, like the high-speed trains in Spain. There is a security check, although pretty cursory one by airport standards. And meanwhile, to get on a plane, they're throwing away your liquids.
the liquids
Yeah,
or looking at your laptop.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's
You
like
have to
there's
take out your
so much you can hide
yeah,
in there.
yeah. Like in Frankfurt Airport, I had to take out my phone for extra screening. Like that's the dumbest stuff. They threw away my sunblock.
Yeah, it now makes me quite angry each time I'm flying now at these
Yes.
airports when I go
Yeah,
through all of this, especially in recent, it's
yeah.
gotten much worse. Like the lines when you don't have like global entry or clear, especially in the United States, or when
I
you
mean, I'm
transit
comparing
through
this
them.
to flying during COVID, where you had a whole additional set of especially nerve-wracking regulations. I flew a lot during COVID, so when like the final rules were, you have to have your test within 24 hours of landing, which then it's like you're taking the test just a few hours before you fly. What if like the thing doesn't work? And like, wow, Jesus, like my whole family's going to be screwed over. We stopped at the border. Like you said, it was just a ridiculous system. So right now, honestly, I'm still like breathing a sigh of relief over how much better things were. But yes, compared to how they were in 2019, they're right, they probably gotten worse. Um, at least they got rid of the rules about put away all your electronics during during takeoff and landing. And doing another regulation that never made any sense, and they got rid of it without ever explaining or apologizing what they did. Like, oh, sorry, whoops.
Yeah. I mean, what does that say? I mean, that's something that I think about a lot also during this podcast because there's just no mechanisms to get rid of these bad regulations,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
That
there is a mechanism out there. It's just democracy. If voters really thought these regulations were terrible and would vote for the person that would get rid of them, then I think they'd be gone by the next election. If there was a debate and one candidate say, look, we all agree that these regulations are stupid, we're getting rid of them. I promise you. And the other side would either have to say, fine, I'll get rid of them too, of course, or stand up for them. And just like a few things like that should tip the election. Just maybe you might say like one thing wouldn't be enough. And like in politics, like a lot of national elections are really close. US elections are really close. So one thing that changes 50,000 voters can flip an election in the US in the right states. Right. And yet doesn't happen because voters don't respond to this kind of thing. Thinking like, even though normal people hate these regulations in real life, furthermore, if there were two airports in their area and one had light regulation and the other had heavy regulation, they would totally go to the lightly regulated airport. It's not even some kind of public good. Like it's like actually would risk their lives to that slight degree. But still, if there was one politician saying, let's get rid of this regulation, the other one saying, we should not value mere convenience over human life, the second person would win, and it sucks, but that's the way politics works.